Welcome to Simply Fresh Food with Chef Renee. Today we're going to be making chopped steaks with egg noodles and asparagus with sun-dried tomatoes. Delicious! Let's get started. First, you want to make sure that you start with ground sirloin. Now, you can use ground beef, but the ground sirloin is cut from the specific part of the cow. It is the sirloin cut. And I just think it sort of holds up better when you use it. But feel free to use regular ground beef, ground turkey, anything you'd like to substitute for this. So I have here about 1.5 pounds. And I'm going to get out the ingredients that we're going to be adding to that. Here we are. And we have some parsley, we have our onions, we have saltine crackers, so it's going to give it a little salt. We have some garlic, we have Worcestershire, as well as a little liquid smoke. I like that smoky flavor. And we have 2 eggs, one here, one over in the other dish, and we have some salt and pepper. So what I'm gonna do first is, let's chop up the parsley. Now, I tried it with both the flat leaf and the curly parsley. It really doesn't make a difference. You can use whichever parsley you like. All right, so we're gonna get this all chopped up here. And you just gather it up. And there are no parsley stems in here that I'm cutting, and the reason is parsley stems can be bitter, so you want to be careful with that. I take the leaves right off and just get to chopping away. And there's really not, you don't have to be uniform with this. It's going into the ground sirloin and going to give us a great flavor. Plus, it's going to have that beautiful green little sparkle. All right, so we get that all chopped up. I like using parsley. All right, here we are. Now, when I made this prior to the show, because I do practice at home, you know, we don't know all of these things until we try them out, just like you try them out at home. And then we tweak it until we get the taste and the flavor that we like. That's why this time I'm using flat leaf parsley. I still did enjoy the curly parsley, but I'm going to use flat leaf this time. And you don't have to have the liquid smoke either. I actually decided to add it once I tasted the dish, and I thought it could use one more thing, and for me, that was the liquid smoke. Now, I have also my water boiling for my egg noodles, because we are gonna make egg noodles with this. So I'm gonna bring the sirloin right here on the top, and we're just gonna dump that parsley right in there. There we are. And if you're going to do what I'm doing, be careful. I'm using the back side of my knife to clear my hands. So just be very careful. Now that we have the parsley cut, I'm going to add the eggs. And feel free, if you'd like, you can put the eggs in a bowl and you can actually beat them prior to adding them to this. But you know, I'm going to mix it all up anyways with my hands, get a little dirty. So I'm going to add the 2 eggs. I have here my salt and my kosher salt and my ground pepper. So we're going to add that in. I'm going to add in the onions. Now it's up to you if you'd like to saute them prior to this. I did try the sauteed onions because I like to kind of take the bite away. I also tried it with red onions. I did like the flavor of the red onions without sauteing them. I thought sauteing them, because you're going to use oil, it sort of kind of breaks up the binding agent. So I would not recommend sauteing the onions prior to adding them, at least not to this dish. I'm going to add the crushed saltine crackers. I'm going to go ahead and pour in my Worcestershire and liquid smoke. And for the garlic, I'm going to go ahead and chop that up. I'm actually going to go ahead and put it in my mincer here. Let's see, can I get another piece in there? And I'm going to mince right over the bowl. And you see, easy cleanup. There we are. Now, if you're going to do that, be careful with your blade. I do that, often, so I'm careful and I know the location. But if you are going to do that, be careful with your blade. You don't want to ruin it. Put in the rest of my garlic. And that was 3 garlic cloves. I really like garlic. And I'm just rubbing to make sure I have all of the minced garlic. Okay, so we're going to put that aside. And now we're ready for the messy stuff. This is where you can actually get your children involved. So we're going to mix. I'm going to start by stirring. Let's use this. Then I'm going to put my hands in there. Now, even though this is not cooked, it is the raw ground sirloin, but the aromatics of the liquid smoke, the Worcestershire, the garlic, it actually still comes through, and it smells as though it's going to create something my tummy is going to love. So we've got that mixed up. I'm going to mix it a little further. I'm going to use my hands. I think kids would love this part. And all those beautiful colors. Look at that. Now, I'm going to turn on my burner in just a few moments. But I want to make sure this is mixed up nicely. Look at that beautiful color there. All right, I'm going to sit that there just for a sec and wash my hands. All right, and what I want to show you is how to make uniform professional burgers so you can get them the same size each time. I'm going to use, let's put that right in the bowl. I'm going to use a lid of another container I have at home. And I do this at home when I bring my ground beef or my ground sirloin or my ground turkey or ground chicken and I want to make them into patties. I actually do this at home and then I store them in the freezer this way. Put them in a Ziploc bag and whenever anyone wants one, they just take it out. It's already labeled, already made. All they have to do is put it in the pan. Easy, easy work. I'm going to take a piece of plastic wrap and I'm going to put it over the lid. Now, I learned this from working in a restaurant. I'm going to scoop out some of the ground sirloin. I'm going to put it together. I'm going to put it right on top of the plastic. And look at this. It keeps my shape. There. And then you have the plastic. You just close it up, wrap it. And there you have your burger. Easy, right? So whenever anyone's ready, oh, honey, can you make dinner for me? The patties are in the freezer. Easy. So that's how I do it at home. That's how they do it in some restaurants. But since we're going to cook this in just a few moments, I'm going to put it right on the plate. And I'm going to go ahead and continue. And I don't think these burgers are going to make it out of the station. So I'm not going to wrap them up. Here we go. We're going to put another one together. And the reason I do this a few times is I just want to make sure they're binding together. You know, sometimes you get your burgers and they come all apart, and then you end up having little burger bites, or beef bites, or chicken bites. Another way to prevent that is if you let them sit in the refrigerator overnight or for a few hours, they actually, the binding agent will coagulate and keep it together. So you can do it that way too. But there we have another patty. And I think I'm going to do one more. All right. You got a lot of flavors going on in here, but they harmonize beautifully and perfectly together. There we are. All right, so we have our other patty ready right here. And I think I will just do the rest of those later. I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to turn on that burner, and then we're going to get started. Okay, we're going to turn on my Volrath, my induction burner. We're going to let it get up to a nice heat here. Another thing about these Volrath burners is you can put your setting to, or you put your settings to a certain percentage or number, a number of degrees. And if you like the way that your food comes out, you can record that setting and it's there. You already know it. You say, oh, you know, last time I made my burgers this way for this many minutes, came out perfect. I'm going to do the same thing. So I like that for consistency. Now, it looks as though our water is boiling nicely. I have just a little bit of salt in there. And the salt, of course, is going to add flavor to the noodles. And we are going to add our egg noodles to this. We're going to give the pan time to get hot for the sirloin. I'm going to add a few things to the noodles. Let's get my tray of goodies. Yay. All right, and there are a lot of things on my tray of goodies. All right, and I'm going to add a little oil while I am waiting just to see a little boil from that. So I've added a little olive oil. I've adjusted my temperature accordingly. And we are going to add, there's the sizzle I love. We're going to add the burgers. Now, we are going to finish the ground sirloin in the oven, but we want to get a nice dark sear on them prior to doing that on both sides. Then we'll finish it in the oven. The important thing with the ground sirloin is you want to, in the oven, just before you bring it out, put it in there for about maybe, I'm going to say about 7 or 8 minutes. We're going to cook it until it's a nice crispy sear on the outside. Flip it over, get one on that side as well. And you want to take the temperature of the meat prior to pulling it out of the oven. You want to get it about 160 because of all of the ingredients that you have in there. Especially that egg binding ingredient or agent. You want to make sure that everything is fully cooked. So about 160, take them out of the oven, put a tent over them, aluminum foil, and then let it sit for at least 5 or so minutes. All right? So I'm going to just wipe my hands off. Okay. Now, to the egg noodles, I'm going to add a little turmeric And I'm really adding the turmeric to it for color, but it also does add a little flavor. I'm going to add saffron. Saffron isn't typically used for what I'm using it for today. Again, color, but a little bit of flavor. It is used for flavor, but people don't typically boil their noodles in saffron. It's an expensive herb to have. And I think that's all I'm going to put in there for now. So I'm just going to toss that a bit. And you want to cook your egg noodles according to the package directions. You can always taste it, and just a little bit prior to al dente is how I like mine. But again, you want to make it your own. I am going to move a few things so I don't cross-contaminate anything. Soon as we get these turned over and get them in the oven, I'll remove everything that the ground sirloin touched. So let's take a look. Oh, look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? I actually see the nice, this part here, that's actually the saltine crackers. Yeah. You can crush them smaller than the ones I had, smaller than the way I had them, but I like to see the different colors and textures of the, taste the different textures as well of the food. So we're going to let that go for a little longer. And that is smelling just delicious. I actually smell the garlic and the onions, and it's not overpowering, overbearing. That's going to be perfect. All right, so what I'm going to do is clear this up a bit. I'm going to let the egg noodles go for a few more minutes because they are not ready. And I think here might be a great spot to tell you about the other ingredients for the egg noodle dish. We're going to add asparagus, and the asparagus has been cut on the bias. And all we mean by that is that we cut it at a diagonal. It just gives it a nicer appearance when you are serving. We're going to add the asparagus. We're going to add butter. I have here a little yellow squash that we are also going to add to the dish for another bite and texture. And let's chop up the sun-dried tomatoes and put them back in the dish because they're going to go in the egg noodles as well. And you just take a couple of sun-dried tomatoes. Doesn't have to be uniform, completely up to you. Here we are. I happen to love the tart flavor that they have, you know, and I'm going to add to that a Dijon mustard, but you can use a grainy mustard for this dish. In fact, I think the original recipe calls for a grainy mustard, but I'm going to add red pepper flakes to mine to give it a little bite and the flakiness that the grains would give it from the mustard without that full-blown additional tart that the grainy mustard would give it. So I've cut these. I'm going to put them back in the container until I'm ready for them. And like, as I indicated, I have Dijon mustard and I have my red pepper flakes. I also have parsley that we will add in the end for the egg noodles, and that's going to give it all the color and flavor that I'm looking for. Okay, our sirloin is ready, so I'm going to put that on a tray. Turn off my burner. And remember, these will finish in an oven. Set your oven temperature to about between, I'm going to say 350, 375, and have them in there for about 5 or so minutes, at a minimum 5 minutes. My burner is off here. These are going to go into the oven. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, I'm going to have strained the noodles, and then we'll show you the next steps for getting that egg noodle dish together, and we'll start on our mushroom gravy. Wonderful. Hi, I I'm Chef Renee of Simply Fresh Food with Chef Renee, and we're back for another fantastic, fun-filled season with recipes and foods that are sure to excite and inspire your palate. So join us this season on Simply Fresh Foods with Chef Renee. Be sure to check your local listings for showtimes. Today, we'll be making fresh croutons. First, be sure to select day-old or sort of stale bread. You want to cut it in uniform cuts. Once you have your bread cut, put it on a sheet pan. Spread them out evenly. Then, take a mixture of your favorite herbs and seasonings, mix them together, and sprinkle all over the bread pieces. Be sure to cover all of the pieces. Next, drizzle your favorite olive oil over the bread pieces. Be sure to cover and coat all of the pieces. Then, with your hands, mix them together thoroughly. This is to ensure each piece gets the olive oil, which will give you your crispy, crunchy texture. Next, place them in an oven at 350 to 400 degrees. Be sure to watch them. Cook the croutons for about 8 to 12 minutes, depending on the size of the pieces. Once golden brown, remove from the oven, and there you have homemade, crispy, crunchy croutons. Welcome back. I am starting the part 2 of our egg noodle dish. So what I've done is I have a little bit of oil in the pan, and I've just added the butter to the pan. So we're going to allow that to melt. And to this, we are going to add the asparagus, we're going to add the sun-dried tomatoes, and we're going to add the yellow squash and let those saute for just a bit. I also I've left the pan on with the brown drippings from the ground sirloin, and the reason that I've done that is I'm going to deglaze the pan with my beef broth. We're going to get started with butter. Spread that one around a bit. And the brown drippings that remain from the ground sirloin, they actually have a lot of flavor to it. So you don't want to toss that out so quickly. I have some mushrooms sliced. I'm going to go ahead and put those in the pan. And I left a few just to show you. These are cremini mushrooms or baby bellas. And I just sliced the bottoms a little bit off because I like the stem. You don't have to have it. And you don't have to, in order to clean mushrooms, you don't have to immerse them in water. You can take a wet paper towel, as I've done with these, and I wipe them all off, and they come out just beautiful. So you don't lose, because mushrooms are, they're mostly water anyways. You want to go ahead and just wipe them off. Now, as the mushrooms cook in the pan, they actually will, the water in the mushrooms will be released, and we're going to give them an opportunity to evaporate, because then we're going to replace it with our own flavors. So I see in the pan for the egg noodles, the oil is in and the butter is in, and we have a little bit of little saffron threads that I decided to throw in there. And we're going to add our asparagus. There's my sizzle. Going to add our sun-dried tomatoes. Aren't those colors just beautiful? Just beautiful. And the mushrooms are looking really fantastic. Stir those up a bit. Oh, just the aromatics of the butter and the asparagus and sun-dried tomatoes makes me just want to dig in right now. I'm going to add the yellow squash. Stir that a bit. Again, the colors. I was having a conversation with another chef earlier last week, and we were talking about, actually eating with your eyes first, which is what most people do. You look at a dish and you make a determination, I don't want to try it, or yes, I do. So I like to try to make it as appealing as possible. And that was my quick slice. I'm going to add those mushrooms to the pan as well. And you saw how quickly the water released from the mushrooms and then it evaporated? We're looking really good over there for our mushroom gravy. This is all set and ready. What we're going to do here is we're going to add back in our noodles. Beautiful. All the colors of the rainbow. I'm going to stir here. Now, I did reserve, as I typically do, the water from my pasta because it's already seasoned and flavored. And in the event that my pasta should become dry, I will have some liquid to add to it. And why use just water when I'll have the flavored, pasta drippings or pasta water? So I'm going to add in, for flavor, for heat and color, my red pepper flakes. I'm going to add my Dijon mustard. And my parsley. And we stir. Now really, this dish is ready. It's good to go. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to stir all of this together. I think you're going to like this. Oh, and the aroma. Oh, it just smells like it's going to be delicious. I thought about, and actually someone asked me, they said, I don't see you tasting the dish while you're making it. Well, now remember, by the time I make the dish on television, I've actually already made it about 2 or 3 times at home. Ask my husband, he can tell you. So I've tasted the dish quite a bit. So I've gotten my salt, my pepper, all of my other extras together. And I will taste it at the end anyway. So now that our mushrooms are ready, I'm going to add onions. I'm going to add flour. And this is so we can make our gravy. And I want you to see this. So I'm going to remove some of these items so you can see exactly what I'm doing. All right. There we are. So I'm going to stir in the flour. Now, since there's no liquid in this flour and mushroom and onion mixture, the flour is actually going to brown. which is what we want. Because when you brown the flour, you actually are determining the color of your gravy. Ah, there's a little secret for you, a little tip. So the darker you want your gravy or your roux, brown the flour. All right, now I'm going to add my beef broth. There we are. And that beef broth is going to deglaze the pan. It's going to actually pick up all the brown of both the flour and the brownings from the sirloin. So all those flavors are getting together. And as you cook it for maybe about 5 to 8 minutes, it's going to start to thicken. Delicious. So we're going to let that hang out. There we are. Oh, smells just wonderful. We're going to let that hang out and come together. We have our pasta ready, and we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to begin plating this fabulous meal that your family is going to just love you for. So I'll see you in a few moments. What would I do differently this season that I didn't do in season 1? I'm not really sure I'd do anything differently. I think we all had a great time. I have a wonderful, wonderful team here at Win TV. And we all came back this season, so I think that's a plus. And we started the show at Win TV, one town, one station, and now I believe we're in 12 or more towns and possibly 14 different stations. So I think that shows the amount of, I'm going to say, support that we have. So I don't think I'd change a thing or do anything differently. I have a great team here. Welcome back, and we are all ready and set to go. So let's get started with, what do we start with? We're going to eat. So I'm going to go ahead and plate. I love all these colors. I love all of it. I'm so excited. Let's put some of the egg noodles on the plate. Now remember, there's the asparagus. We have the sun-dried tomatoes. Oh, everything just looks and smells like it's just waiting for me. All right, that's a lot of food. All right, there we are. We'll save some for someone else. I'm gonna take one of the burgers. We will put it here. And what I've done is I've saved some of the asparagus, you know, just in case. Oh, the other way. There we are. And gotta get some of that mushroom gravy. Wonderful. Now, you can also use that mushroom gravy for some of the pasta if you'd like. I'm going to put a little extra on just in the event I want to scoop up some pasta with it. So we have that. I'm going to do a little garnish here. I've reserved some parsley here. We'll run that around a little. I think we're set there. And let's take a little piece of curly parsley. Now, one thing I also have done is my family loves bread. So if your family loves bread as much as my family loves bread, can't have a meal without it. So I actually have some crostini that I have made, and it could be any bread you'd like. Let's turn that so you can get a nice picture of it. I don't want to hide that sirloin because that is the master of the party. This looks so delicious. Now what I've paired this today with is a red wine. It goes very well with sirloin. If you have something else that you'd like to pair it with, go right ahead. Pinot Noir would be fabulous with it. I'm going to dig right in and I'll let you know what it tastes like. Yum. Oh, look at that, just beautiful. And I'm gonna get some noodles too, and a piece of asparagus. You're gonna love this. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for having me into your home. I hope you make this dish and then write us and let us know or email me and let me know what you think. I want to thank all of our sponsors today and we'll see you next time.